Hello. Wow, the room full of cool looking designers and designer types with like cool t-shirts and haircuts. Okay, welcome to S1T2 and to hashtag TDK Tuesdays and the first the Design Kids physical meetup in a very long time. Woo! I actually think it's important, like being a designer, being a student, like going to talks, meeting not just me, the speaker, and the speakers, like everyone else, and saying hello to the people next to you. We're gonna go to the pub afterwards too, so you should join in for that. Um, and well, wait, I didn't put my slides up. Okay, if you haven't already, it's very important. It's the first event in our studio used by everyone since COVID. So if you haven't signed in at the front, please do, and I can pass you this paper if it's easier. And you've already helped yourself to some snacks. Go crazy on that afterwards. And I can start. So this is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna introduce the talk. What the hell is Borderless? Me, S1T2. I've invited 5 lovely Sydney designers, and they're going to introduce themselves. And I've like given them the theme, and I've like going to ask them some questions that I want to ask them, and open the floor for you guys to ask questions. And yeah, afterwards we're going to go to the Shakespeare Hotel. And actually, I need to shout out the cameraman Josh at the back in the black jacket. Because of him, everyone that's missed it can have this recorded and send it to your friends, to your colleagues, to your students. I'm going to send it to my mom. She's going to send it to our international network of aunties. And then I get all the credit. Okay, so what is borderless? I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So the idea came about last year. Before COVID, Sarah from the Design Kids asked me, do I want to do a talk? And I was designing this is a sneak preview of the new website for S1T2. And I was going from like freelancing on one project to going full time. And I was like astounded by the variety of projects that S1T2 does. And I had like a sit down with the bosses, and they were like, yeah, we don't need a web designer. Like, we don't have that many web design projects. We need someone who's going to design interfaces and graphics for the different things that we maybe do. Like, might be web design, might be time for an exhibition or for a video game type thing. And I felt kind of refreshed by that because I'd spent the last like recent years kind of honing in on like being trying to be the perfect digital designer, learning all the sketch shortcuts and being pixel perfect and comparing myself to all the digital designers that I wasn't. And I found it refreshing that this company needed, well, that's the only time I've worn a suit for work, but needed to be like my whole self, like not just me behind the computer and pushing pixels and stuff, but like to think, to participate, to speak, and yeah, I really liked it. So you're here today at S1T2, stands for Story First, Technology Second. The company was actually founded at uni. It was previously a film society. Originally, this is a secret, called Scene First, Take Two. Now it's called Story First, Technology Second. But what that means for me as a digital designer is like this ethos from filmmaking and story is taken through to design. Like when I first started, I'd be thinking about what's the layout going to be, what's the font, And at S1T2, we really have to like step back and think about, and to win the pitches and to get what the client wants, we have to think about what's the story, who are the people, and what's most valuable to them. And the technology is also like you see in this office today, like there's all sorts of wires, VR monitoring, all this like crazy stuff that happens every day. And compared to when I've worked in digital agencies before, we're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and we're trying to be as efficient as possible. But the tech people here, they problem solve different things. Like sometimes the same person who's helping me on a website is helping someone else on a vivid light installation, or like so. This idea of technology, story first, technology second, rings through in the design process of like what's the story and how's it going to happen. We'll figure it out. So I think that's pretty cool. And what it means is that every day, at least definitely every project, is different and requires. There's not the same type of thing that you did last time. You kind of have to have a wider creative process to take you through the different projects. And yeah, I feel like I learned, like I've worked for 10 years as a digital designer, and I've worked in big corporate agencies. I've even like been depressed being in a big company, not keeping up with being a cog in the chain, and comparing myself to the other digital designers that like just were more on point with that type of stuff. And I think the message I want to say is that you need to kind of, it's okay to be more than that. Like I studied industrial design at uni, and I was like making bus stops, which if you're studying something now doesn't mean that's what you're going to be doing for your life necessarily. I make lots of art and did like illustrations in my free time, and in London I made a little exhibition in a cafe and invited my friends. Um, I once turned my artwork into t-shirts that I sold online through a website and went to festivals with my t-shirts. And this is my second talk. This is another time I did a talk, and I think presenting is a very, and speaking is a good skill of a designer. And more recently coming to Australia, having no friends and going to live drawing and art meetups to meet people and doing things I've always done, which is like make artwork for my brother's music. And I feel like now at S1T2, I found the space in the middle of like, I still have my digital, I'm still a digital designer, but I'm taking into account all of the other stuff that I've done outside of the pixels and outside of the software. And to give you an real life example, we did this project last year called Borderless Banquet for Menulog, and it was super cool. And it kind of, this is an example of like it needing my whole self. Like when we were pitching the idea at the beginning, before any design was, it was based on the like Snoop Dogg advert campaign. So using all these like silly hip hop puns, and we came up with the name and the creative. I used like my bread and butter skills of web interface design to come up with the interface that people, the UX, UI that people are going to use. We worked with like freelance illustrator animators, and I don't do like digital illustration, and like I'm not so confident with a Wacom, but I could, through my outside of work experience, could help to like art direct someone into how to like draw like figures and things like that. And also it involved a bunch of like technical know-how to make this like video animation stuff onto a website that doesn't take up too much space and gigabytes. And it was like all together, it came together, and like working at S1T2, like I hold the expertise of the graphic design, but someone else is an animator, someone else is a developer, and I don't need to know everything. And it's like being able to collaborate is key to understand what someone else's problem is and how you can kind of solve the problem together. And yeah, I guess I feel like when I was asked to do the talk, what I wanted to say was, it's an easy mistake that anyone else would make of like trying to fit yourself into this whole of like digital designer or your first agency or first job that you're trying to get into, and you might even like lose your confidence in not fitting into that. But I think it's so important to do everything else that you do to be creative, because at some point they will all come together, and all the other things that make you unique and that you do in your free time is going to be valuable to the future company, or even doing your own thing like freelancing and being free. Like from when I was younger, like it was all about getting a job, and now there's the internet. You can network with other people and publish your work. And that's my idea for the talk. It's borderless, and I've invited 5 cool Sydney designers to help me bring home the message and tell their story and introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them some questions.